you don't have to sacrifice your freedom to become wealthy and happy. If you're reading this, you likely know firsthand the exhaustion that comes from chasing success without ever truly arriving. You've worked hard, probably harder than most, but still feel stuck, stressed, and nowhere closer to the real freedom you crave. This frustration is more common than you might realize, and it's not due to a lack of effort. Rather, it's a symptom of approaching wealth and happiness backwards. Do This, if you want to be wealthy and happy, is about flipping that script. It offers you a clear, actionable blueprint to shift from endless hustle to strategic leverage, from short-lived financial wins to sustainable passive wealth, and from fleeting satisfaction to genuine fulfillment. The core idea is simple, yet transformative. Stop doing more and start being more. Inside these pages, you'll discover powerful strategies that will help you shift your mindset away from the constant grind and toward a life of effortless abundance. You'll learn exactly how to set up robust passive income streams that grow your wealth automatically, giving you financial breathing room. And instead of burning out by pushing harder, you'll find effective ways to multiply your impact and earnings sustainably. Most importantly, you'll finally understand why simply working harder hasn't solved your problems, and precisely what actions to take instead. This is not another book promising quick fix solutions. It's a comprehensive system rooted in proven psychological and strategic principles that have consistently led others, leaders, entrepreneurs, and everyday achievers, to lasting success and profound happiness. By embracing the concepts laid out here, you'll finally unlock the lifestyle you've envisioned, one where wealth and happiness aren't competing goals, but interconnected outcomes of a deliberate, systematic approach. You're about to discover how true wealth is not just measured in dollars, but in freedom, fulfillment, and the quality of your choices. Ready to step off the treadmill and truly thrive? Let's begin. Chapter 1. Start now. The elevator doors close. You're alone with the CEO who could change everything. She asks the question that separates winners from wannabes. So, what makes you different? Your mind goes blank. Not because you lack skills, you've got plenty. Not because you haven't worked hard, you've been grinding for years. The silence stretches because you've been playing someone else's game, following someone else's blueprint, hoping effort alone would eventually pay off. This moment reveals the brutal truth. You've been trapped in the do-have-be cycle, and it's killing your potential. The backwards blueprint that's sabotaging your success. Most people operate from a broken formula. They believe if they just do enough, work harder, hustle longer, check more boxes, they'll eventually have what they want: money, respect, freedom, influence. Then, and only then, will they allow themselves to be the person they've always wanted to become. This is the do-have-be trap, and it's why talented people stay stuck while others with half their skills leapfrog past them. Here's what this backwards thinking creates. You wake up with a to-do list longer than a CVS receipt. You're busy, always busy, but somehow your bank account stays flat. Your calendar is packed, but your influence remains limited. You're working harder than ever, but the needle barely moves. Sound familiar? The evidence is everywhere. Chronic busyness without breakthrough. Vague goals that shift with every new strategy you discover. Random tactics that feel productive but create no compounding assets. You're stuck in motion that masquerades as progress, confusing activity with advancement. Warren Buffett didn't become the Oracle of Omaha by working 80-hour weeks. Sarah Blakely didn't build Spanx by grinding through endless to-do lists. Oprah didn't create a media empire by chasing every opportunity that crossed her desk. They flipped the script. They started with identity. The real enemy, drifting on autopilot. The real problem isn't that you're lazy, it's that you're drifting. You're operating on autopilot, hoping that if you just keep moving, eventually you'll arrive somewhere worth being. But hope isn't a strategy, and motion without direction is just expensive wandering. This drift shows up as the busy but stuck loop. You create endless to-do lists but few compounding assets. You mistake motion for progress, activity for advancement. There's no review cadence, so lessons get lost and mistakes repeat like a broken record. Hard work alone fails because it lacks leverage. You're trading time for money with no asymmetric upside. Your skill ceiling stays unchanged, so you get the same inputs producing the same outputs. Worse, your identity thermostat is set too low, so even when you start to break through, you unconsciously self-sabotage to stay consistent with who you think you are. The compound effect of getting this right. But here's what happens when you flip the script and start with identity first. You create what I call compounding freedom. An identity upgrade leads to better habits. Better habits create better opportunities. Better opportunities strengthen your identity. It's a flywheel that accelerates with each turn. Your optionality increases exponentially. Instead of taking whatever comes your way, you choose your clients, your projects, your timelines. You develop quiet confidence because every promise you keep to yourself stacks power in your favor. The income and influence flywheel kicks in. Self-investment raises your market value. Proof assets attract better deals without you having to chase them. Your reputation compounds and invitations replace applications. People start coming to you instead of you having to hunt them down. You gain calm, clarity, and control. Emotional regulation widens your decision windows so you make smart choices instead of reactive ones. Gratitude stabilizes your mood so you operate from strength, not desperation. Integrity protects your gains, creating fewer fires and more focus. The cost of staying stuck. But if you don't do something about this pattern, the plateau becomes a prison. You'll stay in the same income band year after year while watching talented peers leapfrog past you with leverage. Rising stress meets shrinking enthusiasm until cynicism sets in like a slow poison. The opportunity cost is brutal. You'll miss compounding windows you can never get back. Your network atrophies because weak ties never strengthen into strong ones. Self-trust erodes after too many broken promises to yourself. Relationship friction increases. You overcommit and underdeliver, damaging trust with the people who matter most. Resentment builds from constant firefighting. You have low emotional bandwidth for family and friends because you're always putting out fires at work. Your first wins are closer than you think. The good news? You can start turning this around immediately. By the time you finish this book, you'll be able to achieve 4 specific outcomes. First, you'll craft a one-sentence identity that's present tense, behavioral, and measurable. Something like, I'm the person who ships 1 meaningful asset daily. You'll have an evidence checklist with 3 daily proofs that make this identity undeniable. Second, you'll launch a 30-day micro-discipline streak. This is the smallest meaningful action, just 15 minutes, that moves your most important needle. You'll use a visible tracker and follow the never miss twice rule. Weekly debriefs will help you keep what works, do more of what's effective, and stop what's not serving you. Third, you'll run 1 knowledge to action sprint. You'll learn 1 idea and test it within 48 hours. You'll measure the outcome, store the lesson, and turn the result into a tiny public proof that builds your reputation. Fourth, you'll produce 1 tangible win, a raise, new client, negotiation victory, or boundary successfully set. You'll document the before and after to lock in your new identity. The system that changes everything. This transformation happens through 6 interconnected steps, each building on the last. Identity shift comes first because who you are leads what you do. Your identity is the thermostat that sets the temperature for your results. Invest in you builds capabilities that pay forever. Self-investment raises your ceiling so effort compounds instead of just accumulating. Attract success teaches you to emit clear signals that draw opportunities to you. No more chasing, you become magnetic. Idea Engine converts observations into assets. Ideas create leverage that tasks alone cannot provide. Model Masters compresses decades of learning into days by studying elite performers systematically. Action Converter ensures you decide, do, and debrief daily so knowledge becomes results. Right and Steady protects everything through integrity and emotional regulation. This is what makes success sustainable. Winners versus losers, the mindset gap. Winners and losers in this game think differently at a fundamental level. Winners decide first, then justify with action. They seek principles, not hacks. They keep promises to themselves, stack streaks, and demand feedback from reality. Losers wait for motivation and ask for shortcuts. They confuse motion with progress and break self-promises while defending their excuses. The diagnostic question that separates them: what would the person I want to be do next, right now? Proof this works. 3 success stories. Warren Buffett started with identity. Early self-education and communication training came before the billions. He built decades of integrity that became leverage, creating a reputation that attracts the best deals in the world. Sarah Blakely made a simple observation about pantyhose, ran rapid tests, and iterated relentlessly. Her identity as a creator, not an employee, turned ideas into assets worth billions. Oprah Winfrey chose intentional growth, service, and consistent standards. Mission clarity attracted global opportunities that continue compounding decades later. Each of them understood something most people miss: results follow identity, not the other way around. Your next move. The path forward is simple, but not easy. It requires you to stop waiting for permission and start taking ownership. Stop hoping for luck and start creating conditions for success. The system works because it's based on how humans actually change, through identity shifts that create behavioral changes that produce result changes. Each piece reinforces the others until momentum carries you forward. But none of this matters if you don't start. And starting means making a choice about who you're going to be, not just what you're going to do. The elevator doors are opening again. The next time someone asks, "What makes you different?" you'll have an answer that comes from unshakable identity, not desperate hope. The question isn't whether this system works, it's whether you'll work the system. What happens next depends entirely on the choice you make in the next 24 hours. Because in the upcoming chapter on identity shift, you'll discover the single most powerful lever for transformation, one that most people completely overlook, yet it determines everything that follows. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2: Identity Shift. Muhammad Ali stood in front of a mirror in 1962, a relatively unknown boxer with big dreams and an even bigger mouth. He looked at his reflection and said something that would change everything. "I am the greatest. Not I will be. Not I hope to become." Present tense. Absolute certainty. Identity declared before evidence existed. Most people thought he was delusional. After all, he hadn't won a major championship yet. He hadn't faced the legends. But Ali understood something that separates champions from wannabes. Your identity doesn't follow your results. It creates them. This is the secret behind every breakthrough you've ever witnessed, and it's the missing piece in your own transformation puzzle. The invisible thermostat running your life. Right now, there's an invisible thermostat controlling your results. It's not in your office or your home, it's in your head. This thermostat is your identity, and it regulates everything from how much money you make, to how people treat you, to what opportunities find their way to your door. Here's how it works. When your results start to exceed your identity, you unconsciously sabotage yourself to get back to normal. When your results fall below your identity, you automatically take action to bring them back up. It's not willpower or motivation driving this. It's self-consistency bias, one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. Think about it. You know someone who always seems to land on their feet no matter what happens. They lose a job and find a better one within weeks. They face setbacks and somehow turn them into comebacks. That's not luck. That's identity in action. Their internal thermostat is set to "I'm the kind of person who succeeds," so their brain finds ways to make that true. On the flip side, you probably know someone who seems to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They get close to a breakthrough, then something always goes wrong. They're not cursed. They're operating from an identity that says, good things don't happen to people like me. The brutal truth? Most people are trying to change their results without changing their identity. They're cranking up the effort while leaving the thermostat unchanged. It's like trying to heat a room by holding a match while the air conditioning is set to freezing. The operating system update you've been avoiding. What I'm about to share isn't positive thinking or affirmation fluff. This is an operating system update for your brain. Just like your computer runs on an operating system that determines what programs can run and how they function, your identity is the operating system that determines what behaviors feel natural and what results feel deserved. Most people inherit their identity by accident. They let past experiences, other people's opinions, and random circumstances write their internal code. But here's what the most successful people know. You can choose your identity. You can deliberately install a new operating system that serves your goals instead of sabotaging them. This is what I call the be, do, have inversion. Instead of trying to do your way to results so you can have what you want and finally be who you want to become, you flip it. You decide who you want to be first. Then you do what that person would do. Then you have the results that naturally follow. Oprah Winfrey understood this from the beginning. She didn't wait until she had a media empire to start thinking like a media mogul. She anchored her identity in service and excellence from day one. That identity dictated which opportunities she accepted and which ones she declined. It shaped how she prepared, how she showed up, and how she treated people. The global success followed because her behavior was already aligned with that level of impact. The 3 dangerous myths keeping you stuck. Before we dive into how to actually shift your identity, let's destroy the 3 myths that keep most people trapped in their current reality. Myth number 1, I'll change my identity after I achieve the results. This is backwards thinking that guarantees you'll stay stuck. Your brain doesn't work that way. It needs the identity first to guide the behaviors that create the results. Waiting for external validation to change your internal programming is like waiting for a car to start before you put the key in the ignition. Myth number 2, identity is fixed. I'm just not that type of person. This is learned helplessness disguised as self-awareness. Your identity isn't carved in stone, it's written in pencil. Every day, you're either reinforcing your current identity or building a new one through your choices. The person you are today is the result of thousands of small decisions. The person you become tomorrow will be the result of the decisions you make starting right now. Myth number 3, big change requires big gestures and a perfect plan. This perfectionism trap keeps people waiting for the right moment that never comes. Real identity change happens through tiny, consistent actions that compound over time. You don't need a dramatic transformation story. You need a boring, reliable system that works even when you don't feel like it. The Identity Install Protocol. Here's how you actually do this. Think of it as installing new software on your mental computer. Start with writing a 1-sentence identity statement. This isn't a goal or a wish. It's a present tense declaration of who you are right now. The structure is simple. I am the kind of person whose specific behavior every day. Make it observable so others could verify it. Tie it to your highest priority, whether that's your craft, your leadership, or your wealth creation. For example, I am the kind of person who ships 1 meaningful piece of work every day. Or I am the kind of person who has 1 substantive conversation with a potential client every day. Or I am the kind of person who invests 15 minutes in learning something that makes me more valuable every day. Notice these aren't vague aspirations like I am successful or I am wealthy. They're specific, behavioral, and measurable. Your brain needs concrete actions to latch onto, not abstract concepts. Next, define 3 daily proofs. These are tiny, binary actions. Either you did them or you didn't. No gray area, no partial credit. Think 15-minute builds, 1 meaningful outreach, 1 reflection on what you learned. Put these proofs somewhere you can't ignore them, on your calendar, on your desk, on your bathroom mirror. The key is making them so small that you'd feel ridiculous not doing them. If your proof feels overwhelming, it's too big. You want to build the habit of keeping promises to yourself before you worry about the size of those promises. Then, install triggers and constraints. Use if-then cues that link your identity proofs to specific times, places, or pre-existing actions. If I sit down at my desk with my morning coffee, then I immediately open my writing document. If I finish checking my calendar, then I send one outreach message. Add constraints that protect your proofs. No social media scrolling before you complete your identity proofs. No checking email until you've done your 15-minute build. These constraints aren't punishment. They're guardrails that keep you on track when willpower is low. Make a public commitment to one person for accountability. Not a social media announcement to hundreds of people you barely know, but a private commitment to someone whose opinion matters to you. Tell them what you're doing and ask them to check in with you weekly. Finally, launch a 30-day identity streak. Use a visual tracker, something as simple as marking X's on a calendar. Follow the never miss twice rule. If you miss a day, you get back on track immediately. Missing once is human. Missing twice is the beginning of a new pattern you don't want. The secret weapons that make this stick. Here are the insider tricks that separate the people who successfully shift their identity from those who give up after a week. Name your alter ego for hard tasks. When you're facing something that feels outside your comfort zone, mentally step into the shoes of your future self. What would the version of you who already has the results you want do in this situation? This pattern interrupt helps you break out of old behavioral loops. Use location anchors. Do your identity proofs in the same place at the same time whenever possible. Your brain loves patterns, and environmental cues make behaviors feel more automatic. The same desk, the same corner of your living room, the same coffee shop. Consistency in location builds consistency in behavior. Script the first 60 seconds of each proof. Decision fatigue kills momentum, so remove as many micro-decisions as possible. Know exactly what you'll do in the first minute of each identity proof. Open this document, grab this notebook, send this type of message. The first minute is the hardest. Make it as frictionless as possible. What victory looks like. When this works, and it will work if you work it, here's what you can expect. At the good level, you'll complete a 30-day streak and achieve one visible win. Maybe you'll ship a presentation that gets noticed, close a client you've been pursuing, or negotiate a small but meaningful improvement in your situation. More importantly, you'll prove to yourself that you can keep promises to yourself. At the excellent level, you'll be hitting 2 of your 3 daily proofs consistently, and peers will start noticing a shift in your standards. They might not be able to put their finger on exactly what's different, but they'll sense that you're operating from a different place. Opportunities will start showing up more frequently. At the best level, new opportunities will actively seek you out, and your identity will feel automatic. You won't have to think about whether you're the kind of person who does these things. You'll just be that person. The behaviors will feel as natural as brushing your teeth. When things go sideways, let's be honest about what can go wrong and how to fix it. If your identity statement feels vague, rewrite it to focus on behaviors you can actually count. I am successful becomes, I am the kind of person who completes one high-value task before checking email each day. If you miss days, reset immediately using the never twice rule. Don't wait until Monday or next month. Restart the moment you realize you've slipped. The gap between missing and restarting is where identity shifts go to die. If imposter syndrome kicks in, and it will, shrink your proof size until it feels manageable. Let your behavior earn your belief. You don't have to feel like that person yet. You just have to act like them. The feeling follows the action, not the other way around. If you're trying to do too much, limit yourself to 3 proofs and protect that simplicity. More isn't better. Consistent is better. 3 tiny proofs done for 30 days will transform you more than 30 proofs done for 3 days. The compound effect starts now. This isn't just about changing habits, it's about changing who you are at a fundamental level. When your identity shifts, everything else shifts with it. Your standards rise, your decisions improve, your results compound. The people who master this principle don't just achieve their goals, they become the kind of person for whom those goals are inevitable. They don't have to chase opportunities because opportunities chase them. They don't have to convince people of their value because their value is obvious from their consistent behavior. But here's the thing about identity shifts. They're fragile at first and anti-fragile later. The first 30 days require careful attention and deliberate action. After that, momentum takes over and the new identity becomes self-reinforcing. The question isn't whether this works, it's whether you'll do the work. Because in the next chapter, we'll explore how to systematically build the capabilities that make your new identity unstoppable. But first, you need to decide who you're going to be. Chapter 3. Invest in You. Warren Buffett sits in his Omaha office, surrounded by stacks of annual reports, newspapers, and books. No Bloomberg terminals, no trading screens flashing red and green, just him, a chair, and information. For decades, he spent 5 to 6 hours a day reading, not scrolling, not skimming, reading with the intensity of a detective solving a case that could make or break his fortune. When asked about his secret to building one of history's greatest investment records, Buffett doesn't talk about market timing or insider tips. He holds up a stack of papers and says, "Read 500 pages like this every day." That's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. But here's what most people miss about Buffett's approach. He's not reading for entertainment or to impress people at cocktail parties. Every page serves a purpose. Every insight gets tested against reality. Every lesson either earns its keep in his mental toolkit or gets discarded. He's built what I call a learning operating system, and it's the hidden engine behind every breakthrough you've ever admired. The asset that pays forever. Most people treat learning like a luxury they'll indulge in when they have time. They're thinking about it all wrong. Learning isn't consumption, it's investment. And like any investment, the returns compound over time if you do it right. Think about it this way. Every skill you master, every insight you internalize, every pattern you recognize becomes part of your permanent toolkit. Unlike money, which can be lost, or relationships which can change, the capabilities you build become part of who you are. They can't be taken away, they don't depreciate, and they keep paying dividends for the rest of your career. But here's the catch. Most people are terrible investors when it comes to their own development. They collect information like digital hoarders, accumulating courses and books and podcasts without any system for turning that input into output. They confuse motion with progress, activity with advancement. They're busy learning, but not actually getting smarter. The difference between learning and getting smarter is the difference between collecting coins and building wealth. One is accumulation, the other is multiplication. One fills up space, the other creates leverage. Your learning rate, how quickly you can absorb new information, test it against reality, and integrate what works into your operating system, becomes your ultimate competitive advantage. In a world where information is abundant, but wisdom is scarce, the person who can learn faster wins. The knowledge graveyard problem. Walk into any successful person's office, and you'll see the evidence of their learning obsession. Bookshelves lined with highlighted volumes, notebooks filled with insights, digital folders organized with military precision. But walk into most people's digital lives, and you'll find something very different, a knowledge graveyard. Hundreds of saved articles that will never be read again. Courses purchased with good intentions, but never completed. Highlights and notes scattered across different apps, platforms, and devices. Ideas that sparked excitement for exactly 30 seconds before disappearing into the void of digital amnesia. This isn't a storage problem. It's a system problem. Without a reliable way to capture, process, and apply what you learn, Even the best insights evaporate like morning dew. You end up in the frustrating position of knowing you learned something valuable, but being unable to remember what it was or how to use it. The solution isn't better note-taking apps or more sophisticated filing systems. It's building what I call a self-education flywheel, a simple, repeatable process that turns inputs into outputs, information into assets, and learning into earning. The compound learning secret. Bill Gates has a ritual that most people would find boring. Twice a year, he disappears for a week of what he calls Think Week. No meetings, no phone calls, no distractions. Just him, a stack of papers, and uninterrupted time to think deeply about what he's learned and how it applies to the challenges he's facing. During these weeks, Gates doesn't just read, he reflects. He connects dots between seemingly unrelated ideas. He challenges his own assumptions. He turns information into insight and insight into strategy. This isn't passive consumption, it's active construction of knowledge. The magic happens in the reflection. Reading without reflecting is like eating without digesting. You get the experience, but not the nutrition. Reflection is where information transforms into wisdom, where patterns emerge from chaos, where breakthrough insights crystallize from scattered thoughts. But most people skip this step. They rush from one piece of content to the next, always consuming but never digesting. They mistake the feeling of learning for actual learning. They confuse exposure with understanding. The people who pull ahead, the ones who seem to have insights others miss, who make connections others don't see, who solve problems others can't crack, aren't necessarily smarter. They're just better at turning what they learn into what they know. The 3 learning lies that keep you stuck. Before we build your learning operating system, let's destroy the 3 myths that keep most people trapped in the knowledge graveyard. Lie number 1, I'll learn when I have time. This is the procrastination trap disguised as practicality. You'll never have time for learning. You have to make time. The people who wait for perfect conditions to start learning are the same people who wait for perfect conditions to start exercising or saving money. Perfect conditions don't exist. Progress happens in imperfect conditions with imperfect systems executed consistently. Lie number 2, more courses equal more competence. This is the collector's fallacy. Having access to information isn't the same as having the ability to use it. You can own 1,000 books and still be ignorant if you never apply what you read. You can complete 100 courses and still be incompetent if you never practice what you learn. Competence comes from application, not accumulation. Lie number 3, speed reading equals understanding. This is the efficiency trap. Reading faster doesn't make you smarter any more than eating faster makes you healthier. Understanding requires time, reflection, and often multiple exposures to the same concept. The goal isn't to consume more content, it's to extract more value from the content you do consume. Building your learning operating system. Here's how you build a system that turns learning into leverage. Start with intentional input. Instead of random browsing or impulse course purchases, align your learning with your current challenges. Keep a running list of now problems, specific issues you're facing in your work or business. Then read, watch, and study with those problems in mind. This isn't about becoming a generalist who knows a little about everything. It's about becoming a specialist who knows a lot about what matters most to your success right now. Dedicate 30 minutes daily to deep reading. Not skimming, not multitasking, not reading while checking email. 30 minutes of focused attention on material that directly relates to your highest priority challenge. Choose one theme per month and stick with it. If your biggest challenge is pricing, spend the month diving deep into pricing psychology, negotiation tactics, and value communication. If it's leadership, focus exclusively on leadership principles and practices. As you read, highlight key insights, but don't stop there. After each reading session, compress what you learned into 5 bullets. Force yourself to distill the essence of what you just consumed. This compression process is where real learning happens. When you have to put ideas into your own words, you're forced to actually understand them. End each reading session by identifying one action you could test within 48 hours. This is the bridge between learning and doing, between theory and practice. It doesn't have to be a big test, just something small and specific that lets you experiment with the concept in your real world. Weekly reflection is where the magic compounds. Spend 20 minutes every week asking yourself 3 questions. What did I apply from my learning this week? What changed as a result? What should I focus on next? Keep a running lesson bank where you record insights that actually moved the needle. Archive ideas that sounded good but didn't work in practice. Double down on concepts that created measurable improvements. Turn insights into experiments. Every week, convert one idea from your learning into a 10 to 30-minute experiment. Test a new email subject line approach. Try a different way of structuring a client conversation. Experiment with a new method for organizing your day. Measure one specific metric and write a 5-sentence debrief about what you learned. Publish small proofs of your learning. This isn't about becoming a content creator. It's about creating accountability and reinforcing your own understanding. Share a brief insight on social media. Send a summary to a colleague. Write a short email to your team about something you learned. Teaching forces deeper understanding and creates a public record of your growth. The quarterly skill bet. Every quarter, make a bet on yourself. Pick one skill that, if improved, would create disproportionate returns in your work or business. Maybe it's storytelling, which could improve your presentations, your sales conversations, and your leadership communication. Maybe it's pricing psychology, which could increase your revenue without increasing your workload. Maybe it's negotiation, which could improve every deal you make for the rest of your career. Define a visible outcome that would prove you've leveled up this skill. A raise that reflects your increased value. A speaking opportunity that showcases your expertise. A client win that demonstrates your improved capabilities. Then, schedule 3 public opportunities to practice this skill where the stakes matter. This isn't about perfection, it's about progression. The goal is to be measurably better at something valuable every 90 days. Over time, these quarterly upgrades compound into extraordinary capability. The simple tools that make it stick. Keep your system simple. Use a basic note-taking tool you actually open every day, not the most sophisticated app you'll abandon after a week. Pair your learning with a consistent time and place. The same chair, the same coffee shop, the same 30-minute block in your calendar. Consistency in environment builds consistency in behavior. Maintain a now problems list that guides your learning choices. When you're tempted to chase the latest trend or fascinating tangent, check your list. If it doesn't help solve a current problem, save it for later. Focus is the enemy of overwhelm and the friend of progress. Review your lesson bank every Friday. Delete ideas that haven't proven useful. Highlight insights that have created real results. This weekly maintenance keeps your system clean and your focus sharp. When learning becomes leverage, when this system works, and it will work if you work it, here's what changes. You'll create 12 solid summaries per month, and at least one applied idea will generate a tangible win. You'll notice patterns others miss because you're actively looking for them. You'll have better conversations because you're constantly upgrading your mental models. At the excellent level, you'll achieve a measurable skill upgrade every month. Your presentations will get better. Your negotiations will improve. Your decision-making will sharpen. People will start asking for your opinion because you consistently have insights worth hearing. At the best level, you'll justify raises or higher rates based on your demonstrable capabilities. Opportunities will find you because your reputation for continuous growth precedes you. You'll become the person others come to when they need someone who can learn quickly and apply effectively. The compound effect of systematic learning is extraordinary. Each insight builds on the last. Each skill amplifies the others. Each quarter, you become more valuable, more capable, more confident. But learning without application is just expensive entertainment. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to transform your growing capabilities into something even more powerful, a magnetic force that draws success to you instead of requiring you to chase it. Chapter 4. Attract Success. Oprah Winfrey never chased a single opportunity that made her famous. Not one. The talk show that launched her empire? They came to her. The book club that moved millions of copies? Publishers begged for inclusion. The media empire that made her a billionaire? Investors lined up to fund her vision. This wasn't luck. This wasn't connections. This was something far more powerful and far more replicable, the ability to attract success instead of chasing it. Watch Oprah in any interview from the 1980s onward, and you'll notice something remarkable. She never sounds desperate. She never oversells. She never begs for attention or approval. Instead, she radiates something that draws people in like a magnet. Absolute clarity about who she is, what she stands for, and what she delivers. That clarity became her secret weapon. But here's what most people miss about attraction. It's not about charisma or natural talent. It's about becoming so clear in your identity and so consistent in your delivery that the right opportunities have no choice but to find you. The invisible force that shapes your reality. Right now, you're broadcasting signals. Every email you send, every conversation you have, every piece of work you deliver, every boundary you set or fail to set, all of it sends a message about who you are and what people can expect from you. Most people broadcast randomly. Their signals are mixed, inconsistent, and confusing. They say one thing in their bio, demonstrate another thing in their work, and behave in a completely different way in their interactions. The market receives these mixed signals and responds with mixed results. Occasional opportunities, mediocre terms, and constant uncertainty about where the next win will come from. But some people, the ones who seem to effortlessly attract the best opportunities, the highest paying clients, the most interesting collaborations, have figured out how to broadcast clear, consistent signals that act like a beacon for exactly what they want. This isn't about manipulation or marketing tricks. It's about alignment. When your identity, your behavior, and your artifacts all point in the same direction, you create what I call magnetic coherence. People know exactly what you're about, what you deliver, and whether you're a fit for what they need. The result? Instead of chasing opportunities, opportunities chase you. Instead of convincing people of your value becomes obvious. Instead of competing on price, you compete on uniqueness. The difference between chasing and attracting. Most people operate from a scarcity mindset that forces them into chase mode. They send desperate emails to potential clients. They say yes to every opportunity, even the ones that don't align with their goals. They constantly pitch themselves, hoping something will stick. Chasing signals neediness, and neediness repels the very opportunities you want most. High-quality clients, premium projects, and strategic partnerships gravitate toward people who seem to have options, not people who seem desperate for any option. Attraction works differently. When you attract success, you're not pushing your agenda onto others. You're creating conditions where the right people naturally want to work with you. You're not convincing anyone of anything. You're simply making it obvious whether you're a good fit or not. Warren Buffett understood this principle from early in his career. He never chased investors for Berkshire Hathaway. Instead, he consistently demonstrated his investment philosophy through his actions, his annual letters, and his public statements. His patient, principle-driven approach attracted exactly the kind of long-term investors who aligned with his strategy. The wrong investors, those looking for quick gains or flashy returns, naturally filtered themselves out. This filtering effect is crucial. Attraction doesn't just bring you more opportunities, it brings you better opportunities. When your signals are clear, you attract people who want exactly what you offer and repel people who would waste your time. The 3 attraction myths that keep you invisible. Before we build your attraction system, let's destroy the myths that keep most people stuck in chase mode. Myth number 1. I just need to network more. This is the activity trap. Networking without clear signals is like fishing without bait. You might catch something, but it's mostly luck. The people who seem to effortlessly build valuable networks aren't necessarily more social or more charming. They're clearer about what they offer and what they're looking for, so every interaction has the potential to create mutual value. Myth number 2. Personal brand is just hype. Good work speaks for itself. This is the invisibility trap. Good work that nobody knows about is just expensive hobby. In a world where attention is the scarcest resource, even exceptional work needs clear signals to cut through the noise. Your work might be brilliant, but if people can't quickly understand what you do and why it matters, they'll move on to someone whose value is more obvious. Myth number 3. I need to say yes to everything to build momentum. This is the dilution trap. Saying yes to everything doesn't build momentum, it destroys focus. When you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to anyone. The most attractive people in businesses are those with clear boundaries about what they do and don't do. The magnetic coherence framework. Here's how you build a system that attracts instead of chases. Start with a one-line value promise that's so clear a stranger could repeat it back to you. The structure is simple: audience plus problem plus outcome. I help growth stage SaaS companies increase trial to paid conversion rates. I help executives communicate complex strategies in ways their teams actually understand. I help solopreneurs systematize their operations so they can take vacations without their business falling apart. Test your promise with someone who doesn't know your work. If they can't repeat it back accurately, it's too complex. If they ask, "What does that mean?" it's too vague. If they say, "That sounds like what everyone does," it's too generic. Keep refining until you have something that's immediately clear, obviously valuable, and distinctly yours. Your promise must align with your identity proofs from the previous chapter. If your identity is, "I'm the person who ships one meaningful asset daily," your value promise should reflect the compound effect of that consistency. If your identity is, "I'm the person who has one substantive client conversation every day," your promise should highlight your relationship-building capabilities. Create weekly proof artifacts that demonstrate your promise in action. Not vague testimonials or generic case studies, but specific before and after examples that show exactly how you deliver on your promise. A client's conversion rate that went from 12% to 18% after implementing your recommendations. A team's project completion time that decreased from 6 weeks to 4 weeks after adopting your process. A founder's stress level that dropped measurably after you systematized their operations. Every proof should tell a story with 3 elements: the specific challenge, the specific solution you provided, and the specific result that followed. Archive these proofs in a simple, linkable portfolio that you can share instantly when opportunities arise. Establish a boundary protocol that protects your focus and strengthens your magnetism. Define your hell yes or no criteria for scope, people, and timing. What types of projects energize you versus drain you? What kinds of clients bring out your best work versus your most frustrated work? What timelines allow you to deliver excellence versus force you to compromise quality? Create standard response templates for misaligned requests, not rude rejections, but professional redirections that maintain relationships while protecting your boundaries. This sounds like an interesting project, but it's outside my current focus area. I'd recommend talking to a specific person who specializes in exactly this type of challenge. Identify 2 non-negotiables that you'll never compromise, regardless of the opportunity. Maybe it's no work communication after 7 p.m. Maybe it's a minimum 48-hour response window for non-urgent requests. Maybe it's no projects that require more than 20% travel. These aren't arbitrary rules. They're the boundaries that allow you to do your best work consistently. The give first advantage. The fastest way to attract opportunities is to give value before asking for anything in return. Not generic value, but specific, useful help that demonstrates your capabilities while solving real problems. When you meet someone new, instead of pitching your services, offer a useful resource or micro help that's relevant to their current challenges. Send an article that directly addresses something they mentioned. Make an introduction that could help their business. Share a tool or template that could save them time. Ask thoughtful questions that show genuine curiosity about their work and challenges. Not leading questions designed to set up your pitch, but authentic questions that help you understand their world better. The best opportunities often come from understanding problems that people haven't even articulated yet. Make the next step frictionless. If someone expresses interest in learning more about your work, don't make them jump through hoops. Have a simple way for them to see examples of your results, understand your process, and take a small next step if there's mutual interest. The compound effect of clear signals. When you consistently broadcast clear, aligned signals, several things happen simultaneously. Your reputation begins to precede you. People start mentioning your name when certain types of challenges come up. You should talk to Sarah. She's the one who helps companies fix their onboarding process. If you need someone who can explain technical concepts to non-technical stakeholders, David is your guy. The quality of your opportunities improves. Instead of competing with dozens of other providers on price, you're often the only person being considered for projects that perfectly match your expertise. Instead of convincing people to work with you, you're evaluating whether they're a good fit for your approach. Your pricing power increases. When people seek you out specifically for your unique capabilities, price becomes less of an issue. You're not selling a commodity, you're providing a specialized solution that they can't easily find elsewhere. Referrals become automatic. Satisfied clients naturally recommend you to others facing similar challenges because your value proposition is clear and memorable. They don't have to struggle to explain what you do. Your signals have already done that work. When signals go wrong, let's be honest about what can derail your attraction system. Inconsistent signals confuse the market and dilute your magnetism. If your LinkedIn profile says one thing, your website says another, and your actual work demonstrates something completely different, people won't know what to expect from you. Standardize your promise and maintain consistent messaging across all touchpoints. Vanity posting that focuses on your achievements rather than client outcomes signals self-focus rather than service focus. Every piece of content should tie back to how your work creates value for others. Share your wins, but frame them in terms of the problems you solved and the results you delivered. Saying yes to everything dilutes your positioning and exhausts your energy. Use your boundary protocol religiously. Track your regretful yeses, the projects you accepted despite knowing they weren't a good fit. Learn from these patterns and strengthen your filtering process. Imprecise audience definition leads to scattered signals that attract no one strongly. Define not just who your ideal client is, but who they're not. The clearer you are about who you don't serve, the more attractive you become to those you do serve. The magnetic future. When this system works, and it will work if you work it consistently, your entire relationship with opportunity changes. You'll start receiving occasional inbound inquiries from people who found you through referrals or discovered your work online. Your outreach efforts will get better responses because your reputation creates warm introductions even with cold contacts. At the excellent level, you'll receive regular referrals and notice improved deal terms and timelines. People will be willing to wait for your availability rather than settling for someone else. Projects will come with better scope, better budgets, and better working relationships. At the best level, you'll have a wait list of people who want to work with you. You'll choose your clients and projects rather than hoping they choose you. Your pricing power will increase because you're not competing. You're the obvious choice for a specific type of challenge. The compound effect of attraction is extraordinary. Each clear signal reinforces the others. Each successful project creates proof for the next one. Each satisfied client becomes a source of referrals. Over time, you build momentum that feels almost effortless because the market is working for you instead of against you. But attraction is just the beginning. Once opportunities start flowing to you, you need a reliable way to convert them into assets that compound over time. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build something that most people never develop, a systematic way to turn everyday observations into breakthrough ideas that create lasting value. Chapter 5, Idea Engine. Sarah Blakely was getting dressed for a party in 1998 when she encountered a problem that millions of women face daily. She wanted to wear white pants, but her undergarments created visible lines and bumps. Frustrated, she cut the feet off her pantyhose to create a smoother silhouette. The makeshift solution worked perfectly. Most people would have forgotten about this moment by the next morning. Blakely did something different. She paid attention. She noticed. She wondered if other women faced the same frustration. That single moment of awareness, that tiny spark of what if, eventually became Spanx, a billion-dollar company that revolutionized an entire industry. But here's what most people miss about Blakely's story. The idea wasn't genius. Cutting feet off pantyhose isn't rocket science. The genius was in recognizing that a personal annoyance might be a universal problem worth solving. The genius was in having a system for turning everyday observations into tested opportunities. Most people experience dozens of potential breakthrough moments every week. They just don't know how to recognize them, capture them, or turn them into something valuable. The hidden currency of innovation. Every fortune, every breakthrough, every game-changing innovation started with someone noticing something that others overlooked. Not because they were smarter or more creative, but because they had trained themselves to see opportunities hiding in plain sight. Ideas are the ultimate leverage. While tasks consume your time and energy with no compounding effect, ideas create assets that work even when you're sleeping. A good system can generate revenue for years. A useful product can serve customers without your direct involvement. A valuable insight can be packaged and sold repeatedly. Yet most people treat idea generation like a mystical process that happens by accident. They wait for inspiration to strike, hoping that someday they'll have their eureka moment. This is backwards thinking that keeps brilliant people stuck in the task trap, trading time for money with no escape velocity. The people who consistently create value, who build businesses, solve problems, and generate wealth, don't rely on random inspiration. They've built what I call an idea engine, a systematic way to notice opportunities, capture possibilities, and test them quickly before investing significant time or resources. This isn't about becoming an inventor or a startup founder. It's about developing the ability to see solutions where others see only problems, to spot patterns where others see only chaos, to create value where others see only obstacles. The observation advantage. J.K. Rowling was riding a delayed train from Manchester to London in 1990 when an idea simply fell into her head. The concept of a young boy attending a school for wizards. But that spontaneous moment was actually the result of years of observation, reading, and mental preparation. Her brain had been collecting fragments, boarding school stories, mythology, coming-of-age narratives, and suddenly found a way to recombine them into something new. This is how creativity actually works. It's not magic, it's recombination. Your brain connects nodes of information you fed it, creating new patterns from existing elements. The more diverse your inputs, the more unexpected your combinations. The more intentional your observation, the more valuable your insights. Steve Jobs understood this principle deeply. He didn't invent the computer, the mouse, or the graphical user interface. He observed existing technologies, noticed their limitations, and recombined them with design principles borrowed from completely different fields. The result was products that felt revolutionary, but were actually brilliant recombinations of existing elements. The key is developing what I call dual awareness, the ability to see both what's actually happening and what story you're telling yourself about what's happening. Most people get trapped in their narratives, seeing what they expect to see rather than what's actually there. But breakthrough ideas live in the gap between reality and assumption. The 4 innovation myths that keep you stuck. Before we build your idea engine, Let's destroy the myths that keep most people waiting for inspiration instead of creating it. Myth number 1, I'm not creative. This is the talent trap. Creativity isn't a fixed trait. It's a skill you can develop through practice. Every time you solve a problem at work, find a shortcut in your routine, or explain a complex concept in simple terms, you're being creative. The difference between creative people and everyone else isn't natural ability, it's systematic practice. Myth number 2, big ideas arrive fully formed. This is the perfection trap. Breakthrough ideas don't emerge complete, they evolve through iteration. Blakely's first Spanx prototype was crude and imperfect. Rowling's initial Harry Potter concept was a fraction of the world she eventually created. Jobs' first Apple computer was built in a garage with borrowed parts. Great ideas start small and grow through testing and refinement. Myth number 3, if I had more time or money, I'd innovate. This is the resource trap. The most innovative solutions often come from constraints, not abundance. When you have unlimited resources, you tend to overbuild and overthink. When you're forced to work within tight constraints, you find elegant solutions that cut straight to the core of the problem. Myth number 4, I need permission to try. This is the authority trap. You don't need anyone's permission to observe, capture ideas, or run small tests. You don't need a business plan to solve a problem for 3 people. You don't need funding to validate whether an idea has merit. You need curiosity, attention, and the willingness to test quickly and learn fast. The systematic approach to breakthrough thinking. Here's how you build a reliable system for generating and testing valuable ideas. Start with intentional observation. For the next 48 hours, keep an annoyances and frictions list for both your work and personal life. Notice when you think, there has to be a better way to do this. Pay attention to repeated questions people ask you. These often signal opportunities to create something valuable. Watch for moments when you or others waste time on tasks that feel unnecessarily complicated. The goal isn't to solve everything you observe. It's to train your brain to notice patterns and problems that others accept as inevitable. Most breakthrough opportunities are hiding in plain sight, disguised as just the way things are. Log at least 10 observations, then prioritize the 3 that represent real pain points affecting multiple people. Not minor inconveniences, but genuine frustrations that people would pay to solve or invest time to address. Capture each promising idea with 4 elements: the specific problem, the target audience, your proposed solution, and how you'd measure success. Name each idea simply so you can talk about it easily. The 15-minute client check-in system, the project handoff template, the pricing conversation framework. Tag each idea as either solve, simplify, or surprise. Solve ideas address existing problems. Simplify ideas make complex processes easier. Surprise ideas create new possibilities people didn't know they wanted. This categorization helps you understand what type of value you're creating. Use impact confidence ease scoring to prioritize which idea to test first. Rate each idea from 1 to 5 on potential impact, your confidence in the solution, and ease of testing. Test the highest scoring idea first. If your confidence score is below 3, shrink the test until you feel confident you can execute it successfully. Create a 48-hour test plan before you have time to overthink it. The goal isn't to build a perfect solution. It's to validate whether the problem is real and your approach has merit. The fast test protocol. Run your test by pre-selling or demonstrating your idea to 3 real people who face the problem you're trying to solve. Not friends who will be polite, but genuine prospects who would actually use your solution if it worked. Track one specific metric: email replies, demo signups, pre-orders, or time saved. Don't try to measure everything. Focus on the one number that best indicates whether people actually want what you're offering. After 48 hours, write a 5-sentence debrief covering the result, what caused it, what to keep, what to cut, and what to test next. This forces you to extract lessons quickly and decide whether to scale or scrap the idea. If you get a positive signal, people respond enthusiastically, ask for more information, or offer to pay, schedule 3 more tests and experiment with pricing. If you get no signal, change either the audience or the promise, but not both at once. Sometimes a good solution is being offered to the wrong people. Sometimes the right people need a different approach to the same problem. Archive all learnings in your pattern library, a simple document where you collect insights about what works, what doesn't, and why. Over time, this becomes your personal playbook for recognizing and developing valuable ideas. The creative accelerators. Use these techniques to generate more and better ideas faster. Prioritize quantity before quality. When you're brainstorming solutions, write 10 possibilities quickly before evaluating any of them. Your first idea is rarely your best idea, but it often unlocks better ones. Speed prevents your inner critic from shutting down the creative process before it gains momentum. Embrace constraint creativity. Give yourself artificial limits: 1 hour to build a prototype, 1 page to explain the concept, 1 week to test the idea. Constraints force you to focus on what's essential and prevent perfectionism from paralyzing progress. Borrow brilliance from different fields. The best innovations often come from applying solutions from one domain to problems in another. How do restaurants handle peak demand? Could that approach work for your client onboarding process? How do video games keep people engaged? Could those principles improve your training programs? Talk your ideas out loud to someone who doesn't know your work. If you can't explain the concept clearly in 1 minute, it's too complex. If they don't immediately understand the problem you're solving, you need to refine your positioning. If they can't see why someone would pay for your solution, you need to strengthen your value proposition. When ideas become assets. When this system works, and it will work if you work it consistently, here's what changes in your life and business. At the good level, you'll validate at least one micro idea that generates 3 or more qualified responses. You'll prove to yourself that you can systematically create value, not just wait for inspiration. You'll start seeing opportunities everywhere because you've trained your brain to notice them. At the excellent level, you'll develop a working prototype or generate your first $500 in pre-orders from an idea you created and tested. You'll have tangible proof that your observations can become income. People will start coming to you with problems because they know you're good at finding solutions. At the best level, you'll create a small asset that either earns money weekly or saves you significant time reliably. Maybe it's a template that clients pay for repeatedly. Maybe it's a system that automates part of your workflow. Maybe it's a process that other people want to license. The specific outcome matters less than the principle. You've turned an observation into an asset. The compound effect of systematic idea generation is extraordinary. Each test teaches you something about what people value. Each success builds your confidence in your ability to create solutions. Each failure eliminates approaches that don't work, bringing you closer to ones that do. Most importantly, you develop what I call solution sight, the ability to see opportunities that others miss. This becomes your ultimate competitive advantage because while others wait for perfect conditions or brilliant inspiration, you're consistently creating value from everyday observations. But generating ideas is only half the equation. The other half is learning from people who have already solved the problems you're facing. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to systematically study elite performers and extract the principles that can accelerate your own progress by decades. Chapter 6: Model Masters. Elon Musk was 27 years old when he sold his first company, Zip2, for $307 million. Most people would have celebrated, maybe bought a yacht, definitely taken a long vacation. Musk did something different. He spent the next several months obsessively studying rocket science textbooks, aerospace engineering manuals, and propulsion physics papers. He wasn't planning to become an astronaut. He was planning to build a company that could make space travel affordable. But here's the fascinating part. Musk didn't try to reinvent rocket science from scratch. Instead, he deconstructed how the best aerospace engineers approached problems, extracted their thinking patterns, and applied those principles to create SpaceX. This wasn't copying, it was modeling. and there's a crucial difference that most people miss entirely. Musk understood something that separates breakthrough performers from everyone else. You don't have to figure everything out yourself. The patterns for success already exist. The principles have been proven. The frameworks have been tested. Your job isn't to reinvent the wheel, it's to understand how the wheel works and adapt it to your terrain. The hidden shortcut to mastery. Every expert you admire started as a beginner who studied other experts. Every breakthrough you've witnessed built on previous breakthroughs. Every fortune was created by someone who learned from those who came before them. Yet most people approach learning backwards. They try to figure everything out through trial and error, treating each mistake as a necessary part of their journey. This is expensive thinking that costs years of progress and thousands of dollars in avoidable mistakes. The smart approach is modeling, systematically studying elite performers to extract the principles that drive their results, not to copy them blindly, but to understand the underlying patterns that you can adapt to your own situation. This isn't about hero worship or trying to become someone else. It's about recognizing that success leaves clues, and those clues can compress decades of learning into days of focused study. While others are stumbling through trial and error, you can be applying proven principles that have already been tested at scale. Ray Dalio built Bridgewater Associates into the world's largest hedge fund by doing exactly this. He didn't just make investment decisions, he studied his own decision-making process and the decision-making processes of other successful investors. He extracted principles from both his wins and his losses, then codified those principles into a system that others could follow. The result? A culture of systematic learning that consistently outperformed markets and competitors. Dalio didn't just succeed, he created a replicable system for success that others could model and adapt. The difference between copying and modeling. Most people who try to learn from successful people make a critical error. They copy tactics instead of extracting principles. They see the surface behaviors without understanding the underlying logic. They try to replicate the what without grasping the why. Serena Williams provides a perfect example of the right approach. Throughout her career, she studied other champions, not to copy their exact techniques, but to understand the principles behind their success. She modeled their mental preparation routines, their training philosophies, and their competitive strategies. But she adapted everything to her unique strengths, playing style, and physical capabilities. The principles stayed consistent: meticulous preparation, relentless focus on fundamentals, strategic adaptation to different opponents. But the tactics changed based on context, the surface she was playing on, the opponent she was facing, the stage of her career she was in. This is the key distinction. Tactics are context-specific actions that work in particular situations. Principles are universal truths that can be applied across different contexts. Winners steal principles and adapt tactics. Losers copy tactics and wonder why they don't get the same results. When you model masters correctly, you're not trying to become them. You're trying to understand the thinking patterns and behavioral principles that drive their success. Then you adapt those principles to your own constraints, resources, and goals. The 3 modeling mistakes that keep you stuck. Before we build your modeling system, let's destroy the myths that keep most people trapped in ineffective imitation. Mistake number 1. If I copy their exact playbook, I'll get their result. This is cargo cult thinking, the belief that surface-level mimicry will produce deep-level results. You can't copy someone's morning routine and expect to get their business results. You can't replicate their marketing tactics and expect to build their audience. Context matters. Resources matter. Timing matters. What you need to extract are the principles that transcend context. Mistake number 2. Their context equals mine. This is the assumption trap. The person you're modeling might have had different resources, different constraints, different market conditions, or different starting points. Trying to apply their exact approach to your different situation is like trying to use a map of New York to navigate Los Angeles. The principles of navigation might be similar, but the specific routes will be completely different. Mistake number 3. Success is unteachable. It's just luck or talent. This is the mystification trap. It's easier to believe that success is mysterious and unreplicable than to do the hard work of understanding what actually drives results. But when you study successful people systematically, patterns emerge, behaviors repeat, principles become clear. What looks like magic from the outside reveals itself as method when you examine it closely. The D-Decode framework. Here's how you systematically extract value from elite performers without falling into the copying trap. Define the specific outcome you want to reproduce. Not their entire life or career, but one particular result that's relevant to your current challenges. Maybe it's their ability to negotiate better deals. Maybe it's their skill at building high-performing teams. Maybe it's their approach to managing multiple projects without burning out. Get specific about what you want to learn. Choose one person or organization who achieved this outcome consistently, not just once. Consistency indicates a system rather than luck. Look for people who produced similar results across different situations, time periods, or market conditions. Extract the behaviors they repeat most often, not the flashy moments that make headlines, but the boring daily actions that compound over time. What do they do every week? What routines do they never skip? What standards do they never compromise? Look for patterns in their preparation, their decision-making, and their execution. Note the cadence, duration, and evidence of discipline behind each behavior. How often do they do it? For how long? What proof exists that they stick to it even when they don't feel like it? This helps you understand the commitment level required to make the behavior effective. Capture the constraints they operated under when the behavior worked. What resources did they have access to? What limitations did they face? What stage of their career or business were they in? Understanding constraints helps you adapt their approach to your own situation. Outline the core principles that drove their behavior. Boil down their actions to 3 evergreen rules that seem to guide their decisions. State each principle as an if-then rule you can follow. If I'm facing a difficult negotiation, then I prepare 3 alternative proposals before the meeting. If I'm building a new team, then I hire for cultural fit first and skills second. Differentiate your context from theirs. List 3 ways your situation differs from theirs. Different resources, different constraints, different goals, different market conditions. Use these differences to adjust the scope and scale of what you're modeling so it fits your reality. Execute one behavior for 14 days as a trial run. Don't try to implement everything at once. Pick the one behavior that seems most relevant to your current challenges and test it systematically. Track one metric that would indicate whether the behavior is working in your context. After 2 weeks, debrief honestly. What worked? What didn't? What would you keep? What would you modify? What would you drop entirely? Use this feedback to refine your approach before committing to longer-term implementation. The advanced modeling techniques. Study failures as much as successes. Anti-models, examples of what not to do, can be just as valuable as positive models. When you understand why certain approaches fail, you can avoid expensive mistakes and focus your energy on strategies with higher probability of success. Prefer primary sources over secondhand interpretations. Read their books, watch their interviews, study their actual work, rather than relying on other people's summaries or analyses. The media often focuses on the dramatic moments rather than the systematic behaviors that actually drive results. Write down your invariants, the rules you won't break, before you start modeling anyone. These are your non-negotiable values and constraints that will guide how you adapt what you learn. Having clear invariants prevents you from compromising your integrity or authenticity in pursuit of someone else's results. Look for cross-domain patterns. The most powerful principles often appear across different fields and industries. When you see the same behavioral pattern in successful athletes, entrepreneurs, and artists, you've probably found something universal that transcends context. When modeling becomes mastery, when you model master systematically, several things happen that accelerate your progress dramatically. At the good level, you'll implement one modeled behavior that yields a tangible improvement, maybe a 10% faster project completion time, or a measurably better client interaction. More importantly, you'll prove to yourself that you can learn from others systematically rather than just hoping for inspiration. At the excellent level, you'll develop a reusable playbook that you can apply across multiple projects and situations. You'll have extracted principles that work regardless of specific circumstances. People will start noticing that you seem to have insights and approaches that others miss. At the best level, you'll create your own framework that others begin modeling. You'll have synthesized insights from multiple masters into something uniquely yours, a system that reflects your values, fits your constraints, and produces results others want to understand and replicate. The compound effect of systematic modeling is extraordinary. Each person you study adds to your pattern library. Each principle you extract becomes a tool you can use forever. Each behavior you adapt becomes part of your personal operating system. Over time, you develop what I call pattern recognition, the ability to quickly identify what's working in any situation and why. This becomes your ultimate learning accelerator because you can extract value from every interaction, every project, every challenge. But modeling is just the beginning. Understanding principles is valuable, but applying them consistently is what creates results. In the next chapter, we'll explore the bridge between knowing and doing, the system that ensures your insights become actions and your actions become outcomes. Chapter 7, Action Converter. Jerry Seinfeld hangs up the phone after another rejection. It's 1976, and he's been doing stand-up for 2 years with little to show for it. Most aspiring comedians would be questioning their career choice right about now. Seinfeld does something different. He walks to his wall calendar, picks up a red marker, and draws a big X through today's date. Not because he got a gig, not because he had a breakthrough performance, simply because he wrote new material today, just like he did yesterday and the day before that. The X represents something more powerful than talent or luck, the decision to show up regardless of how he feels or what results he gets. This simple ritual, writing jokes daily and marking an X on the calendar, became the foundation of one of the most successful comedy careers in history. But here's what most people miss about Seinfeld's approach. The magic wasn't in the calendar or the marker. It was in understanding something that separates achievers from dreamers. Knowledge without action is just expensive entertainment. You can read every business book, attend every seminar, and collect every insight, but none of it matters until you convert what you know into what you do. And most people are terrible at this conversion. The knowledge graveyard epidemic. Walk through any successful person's office and you'll find evidence of systematic action. Project folders with completion dates, streak trackers showing consistent progress, simple systems that turn intentions into outcomes. Walk through most people's digital lives and you'll find something very different, a graveyard of good intentions. Hundreds of saved articles that will never be acted upon, courses purchased with enthusiasm but never completed, notes from conferences that seemed brilliant in the moment but now collect digital dust, ideas that sparked excitement for exactly 30 seconds before disappearing into the void of someday I'll get to that. This isn't a motivation problem, it's a conversion problem. Most people treat action like a mysterious process that happens when the stars align, when they feel inspired, when they have enough time, when conditions are perfect. They're waiting for a moment that never comes while opportunities slip away. The people who consistently achieve their goals understand something different. Action isn't a feeling, it's a system. It's not something you wait for, it's something you engineer. And the most powerful action systems are often the simplest ones. Stephen King has written over 60 novels and sold more than 350 million copies. His secret isn't supernatural creativity or perfect writing conditions. It's a simple rule. Write a set number of words every day, no matter what. Not when he feels inspired. Not when he has a great idea. every single day, regardless of circumstances. King calls this routine over inspiration. While other writers wait for the muse to strike, King has trained himself to produce regardless of mood, weather, or external conditions. The result? Consistent output that compounds into extraordinary results over time. The compound power of tiny actions. Here's what most people get wrong about achievement. They think big results require big actions. They wait for the perfect moment to make a dramatic change, to launch the perfect plan, to execute the flawless strategy. This go big or go home mentality keeps them stuck in planning mode, while others are building momentum through small, consistent actions. The truth is counterintuitive. Tiny actions, repeated consistently, create massive results through compounding. Not because each individual action is significant, but because consistency builds identity, and identity drives behavior, and behavior creates outcomes. When you do something small every day, several things happen simultaneously. Your brain starts to wire neural pathways that make the behavior feel automatic. You build evidence that you're the kind of person who follows through on commitments. You create momentum that makes the next action easier than the last one. Most importantly, you escape the motivation trap. You stop waiting to feel like taking action and start taking action regardless of how you feel. This shift from motivation-dependent to system-dependent is what separates people who achieve their goals from people who just talk about them. But here's the key. The action has to be meaningful enough to matter, but small enough to be sustainable. Too big, and you'll burn out or give up when life gets complicated. Too small, and you won't build the momentum needed to create real change. The 4 action killers that keep you stuck. Before we build your action conversion system, let's destroy the myths that keep most people trapped in the planning phase. Myth number 1, I need motivation first. This is the feeling trap. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes based on mood, energy, and circumstances. If you wait for motivation to take action, you'll spend most of your time waiting. The people who achieve consistent results have learned to act regardless of how they feel. They understand that action creates motivation, not the other way around. Myth number 2, go big or go home. This is the perfectionism trap. The belief that if you're not making dramatic changes, you're not making real progress. This all-or-nothing thinking leads to boom and bust cycles, periods of intense effort followed by complete burnout. Sustainable progress comes from consistent, moderate effort, not sporadic, heroic efforts. Myth number 3, multitasking makes me faster. This is the efficiency trap. Your brain can't actually multitask. It switches rapidly between tasks, losing focus and energy with each switch. When you try to make progress on multiple fronts simultaneously, you make minimal progress on all of them. Focus on one meaningful action at a time creates better results than scattered effort across many actions. Myth number 4, if it isn't perfect, it doesn't count. This is the quality trap, the belief that imperfect action is worthless action. This perfectionism paralysis keeps people from starting because they can't guarantee the outcome will be flawless. But imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time. You can improve something that exists, you can't improve something that doesn't. The 15-minute needle mover system. Here's how you build a reliable system for converting knowledge into action. Start by identifying your daily needle mover, the one action that, if moved consistently, moves everything else in your business or career. Not a random task from your to-do list, but the specific behavior that creates the most leverage. Maybe it's writing one page of your book. Maybe it's making one sales call. Maybe it's learning one new skill for 15 minutes. Maybe it's building one small piece of your system. The key is choosing something that directly contributes to your most important goal. If your goal is to build a consulting business, your needle mover might be reaching out to one potential client daily. If your goal is to get promoted, it might be developing one leadership skill for 15 minutes each day. If your goal is to launch a product, it might be building one small feature or writing one piece of marketing copy. Define success as done or not done, not perfect or imperfect. This binary approach eliminates the gray area where perfectionism lives. You either did your 15 minutes or you didn't. You either wrote the page or you didn't. You either made the call or you didn't. No partial credit, no excuses, no negotiation with yourself. Schedule your needle mover at the same time every day. Consistency in timing builds consistency in behavior. Your brain loves patterns, and when you anchor your most important action to a specific time, it becomes easier to maintain. Choose a time when you typically have energy and focus, not when you're already depleted from other activities. Work for exactly 15 minutes without switching to anything else. Close your email, put your phone in another room, and focus completely on your needle mover. 15 minutes might not sound like much, but it's enough to make meaningful progress while being short enough to maintain consistently even on your busiest days. Start each session with a 60-second first move that you could do even if you were half asleep. Open the document, pick up the phone, navigate to the website. The first minute is often the hardest because of inertia, so make it as frictionless as possible. Once you start, momentum carries you forward. Stop at exactly 15 minutes, even if you're in the middle of something. This might feel counterintuitive, but it serves two important purposes. It keeps the commitment sustainable, and it creates what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain stays engaged with unfinished tasks, making it easier to restart tomorrow. Leave a breadcrumb for tomorrow, a note about what you were working on and what the next small step should be. This eliminates the startup friction that can kill momentum. Instead of staring at a blank page wondering where to begin, you have a clear next action waiting for you. The learning loop that accelerates progress. After each 15-minute session, spend 2 minutes capturing what you learned. Write 3 bullets: what worked well, what didn't work as expected, and what you want to try next. This debrief process converts experience into wisdom and helps you improve your approach over time. Log your wins on a visible streak board. This could be as simple as X's on a calendar or check marks in a notebook. The visual representation of consistency builds momentum and makes it harder to break the chain. When you can see your progress accumulating, it becomes easier to maintain. Share one small proof of your progress each week. Not to brag or seek validation, but to create accountability and document your growth. Post a snippet of what you wrote, share an insight from what you learned, or mention a small win from your outreach efforts. This public commitment increases your likelihood of following through. The debrief and sharing components are crucial because they transform your daily actions into a learning system. You're not just doing the work, you're getting better at doing the work. Each session teaches you something about what approaches are most effective, what obstacles to anticipate, and how to optimize your process. The compound effect in action. When you run this system consistently, several things happen that accelerate your progress beyond what the individual actions would suggest. At the good level, you'll complete 20 or more needle movers in a month and produce at least one tangible output. Maybe it's a completed proposal, a finished presentation, or a working prototype. More importantly, you'll prove to yourself that you can follow through on commitments regardless of how you feel. At the excellent level, you'll launch a new offer or system and see measurable improvements in key metrics. Maybe your outreach reply rate increases by 20% because you've been consistently refining your approach. Maybe your project completion time decreases because you've been systematically building better processes. The specific metric matters less than the principle. Consistent action creates measurable progress. At the best level, your needle mover becomes automatic. You don't have to think about whether to do it, you just do it. And this consistency starts producing visible external results. Raises, promotions, new clients, revenue increases. People begin to notice that you consistently deliver and follow through. The magic happens in the compounding. Each day's action builds on the previous days. Each week's progress accelerates the next week's. Each month's results create opportunities for the following month. What starts as a simple 15-minute commitment becomes a powerful engine for transformation. But consistency alone isn't enough. You also need the inner stability to maintain your progress when external pressures mount and internal doubts arise. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build the unshakable foundation that protects everything you've created. Chapter 8. Right and Steady. Warren Buffett receives a phone call that could make him billions. It's 2008, and Goldman Sachs is desperate for capital during the financial crisis. They're offering him a deal that's almost too good to be true: preferred shares with a 10% dividend and warrants to buy common stock at a massive discount. The potential upside is extraordinary. Most investors would jump at the opportunity. Buffett does something different. He spends the next several hours not calculating potential returns, but examining whether the deal aligns with his principles. Does Goldman have the leadership he trusts? Will this investment help or hurt the broader economy? Can he sleep peacefully knowing how his money is being used? Only after satisfying himself on these deeper questions does he agree to invest $5 billion. The deal eventually generates over $3 billion in profit, but that's not the most important part of the story. The most important part is that Buffett's reputation for principled decision-making is what got him the call in the first place. This is the hidden power of what I call being right and steady, making decisions from a foundation of integrity and emotional stability that compounds over decades into extraordinary opportunity flow. The invisible asset that multiplies everything. Most people focus on building skills, networks, and financial capital while ignoring the asset that multiplies all the others: reputation. Not the superficial kind built through marketing and self-promotion, but the deep kind built through consistent character and reliable judgment. Your reputation is working for you or against you in every interaction, every negotiation, every opportunity that comes your way. It determines who calls you first when good deals arise. It influences whether people give you the benefit of the doubt when things go wrong. It affects the terms you're offered, the partnerships you're invited into, and the level of trust you operate with. But here's what most people miss. Reputation isn't built through grand gestures or perfect moments. It's built through the accumulation of small choices made when no one is watching, decisions made under pressure, and promises kept when it would be easier to break them. Satya Nadella understood this when he became CEO of Microsoft in 2014. The company was struggling with a culture of internal competition and external mistrust. Instead of trying to fix everything through strategy or restructuring, Nadella focused on something more fundamental: rebuilding trust through consistent, empathetic leadership. He started with small things: listening more in meetings, admitting when he didn't know something, following through on commitments exactly as promised, treating failures as learning opportunities rather than blame opportunities. These weren't dramatic moves that made headlines, but they were consistent moves that rebuilt confidence from the inside out. The result? Microsoft's market value increased from $300 billion to over $2 trillion during his tenure. Not because he was the smartest person in the room, but because he created conditions where smart people could do their best work by establishing trust as the foundation for everything else. The compound interest of character. Character and reputation work like compound interest. They build slowly at first, then accelerate dramatically over time. But unlike financial capital, character capital can be destroyed instantly through a single poor decision made under pressure. This is why emotional regulation isn't just a nice-to-have skill, it's a wealth-building necessity. When you can maintain clarity and composure under stress, you make better decisions. When you make better decisions consistently, you build trust. When you build trust systematically, you create access to opportunities that others never see. Think about the last time you were under significant pressure. Maybe it was a difficult client conversation, a challenging negotiation, or a crisis that required immediate action. How did you respond? Did you react from emotion or respond from principle? Did you make decisions you were proud of later, or decisions you had to explain or apologize for? The people who build lasting wealth and influence have learned to create space between stimulus and response. They've developed the ability to pause, breathe, and choose their reaction rather than being controlled by their immediate emotional impulse. This isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about not being enslaved by them. But emotional regulation is only half of the equation. The other half is gratitude, the practice of directing your attention toward what's working rather than what's missing. This isn't positive thinking or denial of problems. It's a strategic choice about where to focus your mental energy. When you operate from gratitude, you make decisions from sufficiency rather than scarcity. You negotiate from strength rather than desperation. You build relationships from abundance rather than neediness. This shift in baseline emotional state affects every interaction and every outcome in ways that compound over time. The 3 stability myths that create chaos. Before we build your right and steady system, let's destroy the myths that keep most people operating from reactive rather than responsive modes. Myth number 1. The ends justify the means. This is the shortcut trap. The belief that you can compromise your principles temporarily to achieve your goals, then return to integrity later. But character doesn't work that way. Every compromise makes the next one easier. Every shortcut erodes the foundation you're trying to build. The means don't just lead to the ends, they become the ends. Myth number 2. I'll be calm when life gets easier. This is the external control trap, waiting for circumstances to change before you develop inner stability. But life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. The challenges change, but they don't disappear. If you can't find calm in current conditions, you won't find it in future conditions either. Emotional regulation is a skill you develop through practice, not a reward you receive for achieving success. Myth number 3. Gratitude is soft and unproductive. This is the toughness trap. The belief that focusing on problems and deficits makes you more effective than focusing on assets and opportunities. But attention is your most valuable resource, and where you direct it determines what you see and how you respond. Gratitude isn't about ignoring problems, it's about maintaining perspective so you can solve problems from a position of strength rather than panic. The trust and calm protocol. Here's how you build the inner and outer stability that protects and multiplies everything else you create. Start by creating a 1-page promise policy that defines what you always do and what you never do. This isn't a mission statement or a list of aspirations. It's a practical document that guides daily decisions. Include your response times for different types of communication, your quality thresholds for different types of work, and your non-negotiable boundaries around time and energy. Make this policy specific enough to be actionable. Instead of, I provide excellent service, write, I respond to client emails within 24 hours on weekdays and provide project updates every Friday by 5 p.m. Instead of, I maintain work-life balance, write, I don't check email after 8 p.m. or before 7 a.m., and I don't schedule meetings on Friday afternoons. Share this policy with key stakeholders, clients, team members, partners, and invite them to hold you accountable. This transparency creates clarity about expectations and eliminates the gray areas where trust gets damaged. When people know exactly what to expect from you, they can plan accordingly and appreciate your consistency. Develop a 2-minute calm reset routine for high-stakes decisions. Before responding to a difficult email, entering a challenging conversation, or making an important choice, take 2 minutes to slow your breathing, name what you're feeling, and ask yourself, what would the calm version of me do in this situation? This pause isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about choosing your response rather than being controlled by your reaction. The 90-second rule from neuroscience tells us that the chemical component of emotions lasts about 90 seconds. If you can create space for that initial wave to pass, you can respond from clarity rather than reactivity. Implement a nightly gratitude ledger where you record 3 lines: 1 person you appreciated today, 1 progress you made, and 1 privilege you noticed. This isn't about forcing positivity. It's about training your attention to notice assets and opportunities that are already present but often overlooked. Review your gratitude entries weekly to identify patterns and trends. Are you consistently appreciating the same people? Are you noticing progress in areas that matter most to your goals? Are you acknowledging privileges that you might be taking for granted? This reflection helps you understand what's working in your life and what deserves more attention. Create boundary scripts for common situations where your standards might be tested. Develop a no plus because template for requests that don't align with your priorities. I appreciate you thinking of me for this project, but I'm focused exclusively on your priority right now. I'd recommend talking to specific alternative who specializes in exactly this type of work. Establish an escalation path for when your boundaries are crossed or your standards aren't met. This isn't about being rigid or punitive. It's about having a clear process for addressing issues before they damage relationships or compromise your integrity. The practical tools for daily implementation. Underpromise by 10% and overdeliver by 10%. If you think a project will take 5 days, promise 6 and deliver in 4. If you think you can handle 10 clients, commit to 9 and surprise them with exceptional service. This buffer protects your reputation and creates positive surprises rather than negative disappointments. Pre-commit to response times to reduce stress and increase trust. Instead of leaving people wondering when they'll hear back from you, establish clear expectations. I'll get back to you by Thursday afternoon, or I'll have an answer for you by Monday morning. This eliminates the anxiety of uncertainty for both parties. Label emotions out loud when you feel them intensely. I'm feeling frustrated about this deadline, or I'm anxious about this presentation. Naming emotions reduces their power over you and helps you respond more thoughtfully. This simple practice activates the prefrontal cortex and calms the amygdala, literally changing your brain's response to stress. Use your gratitude practice strategically by starting important meetings or conversations with appreciation. Before we dive into the challenges, I want to acknowledge how well the team handled the last project, or I'm grateful we have the opportunity to work on something this impactful. This sets a positive tone and frames problems as opportunities rather than threats. When right and steady becomes your competitive advantage. When you operate from this foundation consistently, several things happen that accelerate your progress and protect your gains. At the good level, you'll experience fewer emergencies because your clear boundaries and consistent communication prevent small issues from becoming big problems. You'll sleep better and focus more clearly because you're not carrying the stress of broken promises or compromised values. At the excellent level, you'll receive more referrals because people trust you to deliver what you promise when you promise it. You'll make faster, clearer decisions because you have established principles to guide you rather than having to figure out your values in each situation. At the best level, you'll achieve trusted operator status, the reputation that gets you first call invitations to the best opportunities. You'll command premium pricing because people know that working with you means working with someone who won't cut corners or create problems. You'll have access to deals, partnerships, and possibilities that others never see because they haven't built the trust required to be included. The compound effect of right and steady behavior is extraordinary. Each promise kept builds credibility for the next one. Each calm response under pressure increases confidence in your judgment. Each grateful acknowledgement strengthens relationships that create future opportunities. But individual excellence is only the beginning. The ultimate test of everything you've built comes when you must integrate all these elements into a coherent system that can handle whatever the future brings. In the final chapter, we'll explore how to synthesize identity, learning, attraction, ideas, action, and integrity into something greater than the sum of its parts. Chapter 9. Own the Future. Warren Buffett is 93 years old, worth over $100 billion, and still shows up to his office in Omaha every morning at 8:15 a.m. Not because he has to, but because he's built something more valuable than money, a system that generates wealth, influence, and satisfaction automatically. Watch Buffett in any interview from the past 6 decades, and you'll notice something remarkable. He doesn't look stressed. He doesn't seem rushed. He doesn't appear to be grinding or hustling or chasing the next opportunity. Instead, he radiates something that most people never achieve: quiet confidence in a system that works regardless of market conditions, economic cycles, or external circumstances. This is what happens when you stop trying to force outcomes and start building systems that create outcomes. When you stop reacting to circumstances and start attracting circumstances. When you stop hoping for luck and start engineering conditions where success becomes inevitable. You've spent 8 chapters learning the individual components of this system. Now it's time to see how they work together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. A life where wealth and happiness aren't flukes you chase, but defaults you own. The architecture of inevitable success. Let's trace the path you've traveled and see how each piece connects to create unstoppable momentum. You started with identity shift because everything flows from who you decide to be. Your identity sets the thermostat for your results. When you declare, "I'm the kind of person who ships meaningful work daily," your brain starts looking for ways to make that true. When you prove it through small daily actions, the identity becomes unshakable. When the identity becomes unshakable, the behaviors become automatic. You moved to invest in you because identity without capability is just wishful thinking. Your learning operating system turns every day into a compound investment in your future self. 30 minutes of focused reading plus weekly reflection plus tiny tests equals a rising learning rate that becomes your ultimate competitive advantage. While others are guessing, you're applying proven principles. While others are repeating mistakes, you're building on lessons learned. You learn to attract success because chasing signals neediness while becoming signals inevitability. Your clear value promise, plus consistent proof artifacts, plus firm boundaries, create magnetic coherence. People know exactly what you deliver and whether you're a fit for what they need. The right opportunities find you, the wrong ones filter themselves out. You built an idea engine because ideas are leverage while tasks are rent. Your systematic observation plus rapid testing plus pattern recognition turns everyday annoyances into income-generating assets. You stop waiting for inspiration and start creating value from what you notice. You mastered model masters because decades of trial and error can be compressed into days of focused study. Your pattern library plus principle extraction plus context adaptation lets you learn from elite performers without copying them blindly. You steal principles and adapt tactics rather than the other way around. You installed the action converter because knowledge without action is expensive entertainment. Your daily decide-do-debrief loop plus 15-minute needle movers plus streak tracking turns insights into outcomes. You stop waiting for motivation and start creating momentum regardless of how you feel. You anchored everything with right and steady because shortcuts leak gains while integrity compounds them. Your promise policy plus calm reset plus gratitude ledger plus boundary scripts create the foundation that protects and multiplies everything else. You build trust that becomes your ultimate asset. Each component is powerful alone. Together, they create something extraordinary, a flywheel that spins faster with each turn, generating more results with less effort over time. The compound effect of systematic excellence. When these elements work together, something magical happens. Your cognitive load drops dramatically because the system handles the basics automatically. You stop spending mental energy on whether to do your daily proofs. You just do them. You stop wondering how to respond to difficult situations. Your principles guide you. You stop questioning whether you're making progress. Your streak tracker shows you. This freed up mental capacity gets redirected toward higher leverage activities. Instead of managing your motivation, you're designing strategy. Instead of fighting resistance, you're building relationships. Instead of chasing opportunities, you're evaluating which ones deserve your attention. Your reputation begins to precede you in every interaction. People know you deliver what you promise when you promise it. They know you'll give them straight answers, even when those answers aren't what they want to hear. They know working with you means working with someone who won't create problems or cut corners. This reputation becomes a force multiplier for everything you do. Negotiations start from a position of trust rather than suspicion. Collaborations begin with confidence rather than uncertainty. Opportunities come with better terms because people want to work with reliable operators. Your optionality increases exponentially. Instead of taking whatever comes your way, you choose projects that align with your goals and energize your capabilities. Instead of competing on price, you compete on uniqueness. Instead of hoping for the best, you engineer conditions for success. Most importantly, you develop what I call systematic confidence, the quiet certainty that comes from knowing you have reliable processes for learning, creating, and delivering value. You're not dependent on external validation or perfect conditions. You're not waiting for permission or hoping for luck. You're building assets that compound regardless of circumstances. The relationship revolution. This systematic approach doesn't just change your professional results, it transforms your personal relationships in ways that create lasting satisfaction. When your identity is clear and your boundaries are firm, you stop sending mixed signals. People know what to expect from you, which creates safety and trust. Your yes means yes, your no means no. There's no confusion about your priorities or your principles. Your daily gratitude practice and emotional regulation tools expand your patience and empathy. You're less reactive and more present. You respond to stress with calm rather than chaos. You approach conflicts with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Your integrity creates psychological safety for everyone around you. People know they can trust you with sensitive information, difficult feedback, and honest conversations. They know you won't throw them under the bus when things go wrong or take credit when things go right. The result is deeper, more satisfying relationships both personally and professionally. You attract people who share your values and repel those who don't. You build a network based on mutual respect rather than mutual need. You create connections that compound over time rather than transactions that extract value. The new capabilities you now possess. With this system in place, you can achieve things that were impossible before you started this journey. You can launch and sustain assets that generate value while you sleep. Your systematic approach to idea generation, plus rapid testing, plus consistent execution, creates products, services, and systems that work without your constant attention. You're building wealth, not just earning income. You can command better terms in every negotiation because you're operating from strength rather than desperation. Your clear value proposition, plus proven track record, plus firm boundaries, give you pricing power and project selectivity. You're not competing. You're the obvious choice for specific types of challenges. You can say no without guilt because you have clear criteria for what deserves your attention. Your promise policy plus boundary scripts plus identity alignment make it easy to decline opportunities that don't fit. You protect your deep work time and family time because you know they're essential to your long-term success. You can turn setbacks into skill upgrades through your systematic debrief process. Every failure becomes data. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen your system. You're anti-fragile. You get stronger from stress rather than weaker. The flywheel effect. As you continue practicing these concepts, something remarkable happens. Your results improve while your effort decreases. This isn't because you're working less, it's because you're working more systematically. Your habits automate the basics so you don't have to think about them. Your identity enforces consistency so you don't have to rely on motivation. Your reputation precedes you so opportunities come with less friction. Your principles guide decisions so you spend less time deliberating. The flywheel spins faster with each turn. Same push, bigger glide. Same effort, better results. Same time investment, higher returns. You start spending your judgment on strategy rather than firefighting. Instead of managing crises, you're preventing them. Instead of reacting to problems, you're anticipating them. Instead of hoping for good outcomes, you're engineering them. This is how wealth and happiness shift from flukes to defaults, not through dramatic transformations or perfect execution, but through systematic consistency that compounds over decades. The Buffett Blueprint in action. Warren Buffett's life demonstrates this system at scale. For over 60 years, he's maintained the same basic approach: relentless self-education, disciplined decision-making, unbreakable integrity, and patient compounding. His identity as a long-term investor guided every choice. His learning system turned reading into competitive advantage. His clear principles attracted the right partners and repelled the wrong ones. His systematic approach to evaluating opportunities created extraordinary returns. His daily habits automated excellence. His integrity built trust that became his ultimate asset. The result? Not just financial wealth, but optionality, influence, and satisfaction that most people never achieve. He owns his future because he built systems that create the future he wants. You can do the same, not by copying Buffett's exact tactics, but by applying the same systematic approach to your own goals, constraints, and opportunities. Your next move. The path forward is simple but not easy. It requires you to stop waiting for perfect conditions and start building with what you have. It requires you to stop hoping for external validation and start creating internal standards. It requires you to stop chasing outcomes and start building systems. Write your one-sentence identity statement right now. Not tomorrow, not when you have more time. Right now. I am the kind of person who... Make it present tense, behavioral, and measurable. Make it something others could verify by watching your actions. Define your 3 daily proofs, the tiny actions that make your identity undeniable. Schedule them in your calendar for tomorrow. Not next week, tomorrow. Make them so small you'd feel ridiculous not doing them. Choose one idea you've been sitting on and commit to testing it within 48 hours. Define the metric you'll track. Identify the 3 people you'll test it with. Set the timer and start building. Schedule your first 15-minute needle mover for tomorrow morning. Put it in your calendar with the same priority you'd give to a meeting with your most important client. Because that's exactly what it is, a meeting with your future self. The moment of truth. You're at a crossroads. You can close this book, feel inspired for a few days, then gradually drift back to your old patterns. Or you can make a decision that changes everything. The decision to start building systems instead of hoping for luck. The difference between people who transform their lives and people who just read about transformation is simple. Action. Not perfect action. Not dramatic action. Just consistent action aligned with clear identity and systematic principles. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more information or better circumstances or additional resources. You need a decision followed by action, followed by consistency. The elevator doors are opening. The CEO is waiting. The question is coming. What makes you different? This time, you'll have an answer that comes from unshakable identity, systematic capability, and proven results. This time, you'll speak from quiet confidence rather than desperate hope. This time, you'll own the future instead of hoping it works out. The only question left is, when do you start? The answer, if you're serious about wealth and happiness, is now. Win the day, stack the days, own the future. Your future self is counting on the decision you make in the next 60 seconds. Don't let them down.